the mental game, that
Right.
self-talk. If that,
Yeah.
you know, whenever you look in the mirror and everything in your body is screaming red alert, you know, and every siren's going off that you can sense, but you know you can keep going.
Yeah.
That was like that was the hook. That was the addiction part of it. I was like, man, I'm capable of more than what I think I can. You know, whether that's a handstand push-up, whether that's a 185-pound power clean, whatever it is.
Welcome to the Unbroken podcast with Chris Crosby. I have Joe Williams with me today. He's been a good friend for almost 3 years. He's been a coach, a mentor, and a friend. And so he's worked with me quite a bit from my beginning days of CrossFit when I first started trying to lift weights, and now I work with him on in classes, and I take his barbell class, and so he kind of takes me under his wing on some of these lifts, and it's been cool just to grow with him and get to know him, and I'm really excited to sit down and talk about things like fitness.
Yeah, all the above.
All the above. So Joe, let's let people get to know you a little bit more. Let's talk about your background.
Sure.
So you're a professor.
Yeah. So kind of my day job, or at least the 9 to 5, the daylight hours, I teach at Missouri State University. I'm a professor in the biomedical sciences department. My specialty is in molecular biology, which is genetics, molecular genetics specifically, and DNA science and all that fun stuff. But I've also had the opportunity to teach anatomy and physiology, and kind of the breadth of classes across everything we do. So we can ride that deep into the rabbit hole, or the main class I teach right now is I teach about 250 freshmen each semester for the Introduction to Human Biology class. So that's a lot of fun to kind of be the stepping stone for their scientific academic careers.
Wow. So I remember my freshman classes where I could think of every excuse why I didn't do the homework.
Sure.
And
yeah.
so you get a lot of those kind of, especially biology.
That's what I joke with people, it's you'll be amazed how many grandparents die that week before the first test. And some of them are very legit. Other of them are very questionable. So
I need to see a death certificate.
Yeah. Well, I've gotten to the point where I have to ask for an announcement or something, just because they'll find all kinds of ways.
Wow.
But it's one of those things where I come off very strict and very course at the beginning of the semester, just because with that many people you have to. But by the end of the semester, I kind of feel like I'm more of like a corny game show host.
Yeah.
So
that's
teaching
not
classes.
just the theory, like teachers really do that. Because I remember, do teachers try to scare us at the very beginning of the
absolutely.
semester?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's almost, you're setting a tone, because I make a joke as well too. The first day of class, there's 2 ways you can answer 95% of most students' questions. Is either no or it's in the syllabus, and it's still. Throughout the semester, it still holds true. Even at the end of the semester, I still have a lot of those problems.
Yeah. Refer back to your syllabus.
Yes, when it comes to grades, when it comes to sick policies, snow policies, whatever, and it's just. Yeah, I think people forget what that document's for sometimes.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. But we were all freshmen at one time.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And that's the thing too. It's like while I try to be very strict at the start, at the same time I try to make them very aware that I'm there to help them.
Yeah.
I'll bend over backwards, and I tell them from day one is I will put as much work into this class with you as you will put in this work in this class. Because I tell them the last day of class, I kind of go on a spiel in the last 20 minutes or so, is how I firmly believe that some of those in there are going to become the greatest minds of our generation. It's statistically proven that they are the smartest generation of students that we've ever had.
Awesome.
And the things that they're capable of, paired with the technologies we have now, are just, it's amazing. And that leads to everything. Knowledge is at the tip of your fingers now. It's more accessible than it ever has been. At the same time, it's probably more underutilized than it's ever been at the same time. And that applies to anything, whether it's fitness, whether that's science, whether that's how to bake a turkey.
But
whatever.
cat videos are a lot of fun to watch.
Oh my gosh, man. I spend more time probably on Instagram looking at those meme videos of whether it's a weightlifting fail or the cat videos or pit videos, all kinds of fun stuff.
Have you seen that hunting CrossFit one where they have the sniper shoot and it has someone like fail?
Oh man, over? Some of those there's some of those I'll just watch on repeat and I'll be giggling in the corner by myself because I can't hardly contain myself. I mean,
there's Joe in the corner.
Oh my gosh! I mean, God bless the people who put their videos on the. Oh, I forgot to start a T. Hold on a second. Who put their videos online? Sorry.
Joe has had tea on, so he's running out. We're at his house right now, so he let me come over and I guess he doesn't want to burn his house down. He just ran off and. Oh, you're good, man. Social commentary right here. And now he's walking back with some tea. But
my apologies, everybody.
No, you're good. So you specialize in DNA, is that what I remember?
Yeah, DNA science. Molecular genetics is kind of what my undergrad degree was in, and then my master's program was focusing on the activation or how to turn on certain genes at certain times, because when it comes to DNA, the human genome is a pretty interesting thing because 99.9% of us are all the exact same, whether it's you, that's me, whether that's person halfway across the world. The nuance in the sense of the way we're built, our personalities, our hair color, eye color, all of those things are the results of some very, very, very minute changes that are spread across this whole massive amount of information. And that really intrigued me because it's one of those things where instead of us thinking of ourselves as an individual snowflake, in reality, we're very, very the same. It doesn't matter if you're from sub-Saharan Africa, whether you're from Panama, whether you're from Springfield, Missouri. At the very basics of it, I mean, we're the same people. And it's really cool to see what gets turned on, when, where, why, how, and that's really kind of the next levels because we know what the book is, we know what the genetics are. We just got to figure out how that all kind of comes together.
Tiny percentage.
Oh my gosh, yeah. One interesting idea too is because every single one of your cells has all the information to make every single one of your cells in your body, whether that's cool. A muscle cell, whether that's an eye cell, a liver cell. All the information to make a muscle cell is inside of that liver cell. It's just not being turned on at the right time.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
So I bet that's a rabbit hole all in itself.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and that's really like my favorite part about some of the classes I teach is because introducing and focusing on that, especially when you can kind of see when some of these students kind of start sinking their teeth in it, and they kind of see it's not the aha moment necessarily because we're not really discovering anything new, but they're seeing this possibility of what science and what genetics really, what power it holds over all of us, whether that comes to cancer, whether that comes to personalities.
So it's the door, and they start walking.
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. And again, because I teach mostly undergrads, and then they go on to become doctors, they become researchers. I mean, we've had students who have ended up at Harvard, we've had students who've ended up at Johns Hopkins for medical school, and then it's neat to see where they end up at.
Was it Jessica Griffith that was in your class one?
Probably.
Because I think she was the one that came up to me at Shredfest, and she's like, "It's so weird to see one of my professors here," and that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I've. It's kind of interesting. My wife and I did some math one day, and I think at this point I've had almost 2,000 students.
Yeah.
I've taught at Missouri State now for almost 8 years. And so at this point, I mean, the number of people who've been through my class, we were out watching a show just the other night, and a girl came up to me. She's like, "You don't remember me?" And obviously I didn't, but I taught her 2 years ago in a summer class, and she was talking to me about how the class had helped her find a role into genetic therapy, and she's going on to become a genetic therapist.
Wow!
And
so that had that effect?
Oh yeah. I mean, she said she had an interest in the first place, but she said she really enjoyed my class, this, that, and the other, and those are the compliments that really that help the most. I mean, and again, and it's the same idea whether it's a CrossFit class. You know, it's like the stuff a great workout's great, a good class is great, a good test is great, but the stuff that you internalize and you take home with you, that's the most powerful thing. And that's what I hope to teach, no matter who I'm teaching, no matter what the subject is.
Well, that's one thing I noticed when you approach any class that you're teaching, CrossFit class. I've come up and while you're teaching, I'm like, "Hey, Joe," and I want to like say hi, and you just kind of look like, "I'm teaching right now."
Sure.
But I mean, I respect that because that means you're focused on the students. You're trying to help them through. I mean, like, I've had some of Tyler. He's coming. He's like, "I really appreciate when Joe comes up to me in a workout, even if he's not coaching, but he sees me and helps me through my form."
Sure.
That means that I see that he cares.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. I mean, as a gym owner and as a coach, I mean, at the least, my number one thing, and I think some of that comes from being a teacher, is that it's your workout or this is your class. I mean, granted, I'm the teacher of that class, But, at Missouri State, you got to think about it. I mean, students are the consumers. And as a business, it's the exact same thing. The people in the class are the consumers. And if they're not getting the service that they desire and not getting the results that they desire, something is gone cattywampus somewhere, whether that's my delivery, whether that's their effort level. But for me, I want to find the root of it. And I want to try to control the delivery mechanism, the things I can control to the best of my ability. And at the same time, I take a massive amount of pride in helping people take that next step. I mean, Tyler, I love Tyler, but I've learned some stuff from him about how to deal with blood sugar control and inside of a workout and things that he has to be aware of that were never on my radar. And so it's kind of interesting to see how it's kind of it's a give and take. And that's one of the things too. I learn a lot from my students. I learn a lot from the people who I coach in classes and people who I coach across the country. It's really a give and take relationship. And I think you have to have that to be an effective teacher of any subject.
I like in your barbell class, sometimes you're just like, hey, I programmed this for Chris today. We're doing this movement, it's going to benefit everybody, but this right here, your first pull, that's where you're messing up. So let's work on that, I mean, you do that for Rand. Everyone that's consistently going to your classes, you're like, hey, I did this with you in mind. And you said that several times to different people.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, honestly, the barbell class was great. I mean, granted, we're kind of lucky because we have a kind of a somewhat captive audience. We've got a great group of, 10 or 15 people for the most part that are there 80% of the time, and that consistency as well as that dedication that people put in the class, it's allowed me whenever I sit down and do some programming for that to be like, you know what, I'll have some goals I want to work on, but inside of those goals I can kind of tailor them to, I mean, we can all get better at all of it. It's not going to hurt anybody, but it's like, every week whenever I'm watching people lifting, I am coaching them, but I'm also making those mental notes, it's like, Randy's having a problem with a lockout, or Chris is, using his back a little early on the pull. It's like, okay, we'll dress it now, but next week we're going to make a drill that's going to drive that way home, you know, and it's one of those things where that's the fun part of it. It really is, because again, you're not getting personalized programming, but there is a level of personalization to it. And that's what's great about CrossFit. It's about all this fitness stuff, is the fact that no matter what it is, you can find the way that it's going to be the most beneficial for you. You have to find it.
Right. So you ran track in college?
Yeah, I ran track in college. I'm from a small town in southwest Missouri called Seneca. It's the definition of a map dot. And I was an okay track runner in high school who had dreams of grandeur by all means. And so I had some offers to run track at some smaller colleges and universities. But I had an opportunity to walk on at University of Arkansas, which when it comes to track and field, it's the Alabama of the track and field world. Okay. Especially at that time, the coach there, his name was John McDonald. I think they had won 30 plus track and field combined indoor outdoor as well as cross country championships, national championships. I mean, so it's just there's upper class and then there's this, and so I tried to walk on down there. My first day of track practice, I walked into the indoor track because I think it was in November. And the first two people who I see are Wall Spearman and Tyson Gay. Both of them were Olympians. Tyson Gay, I believe, won the gold medal in the 100. I think Wallace has won at least a silver in the 200. Wow. And so I walk in there, and I mean, these guys I think are a year older than me at the time, but look like they're 40. I mean, they are just specimens of physical and athletic performance. And I mean, I'm just like
hey there.
In awe. Yeah. And I mean, so I remember the very first thing they asked us to do was you run an easy 400, like a jogging 400 at 70%, roughly. Yeah. And, these guys are jogging. And I am dang near sprinting just to be within 95%. Just to be within not even with them. Just want to touch them. For them to be not completely pulling away from me. Right. I mean, by all means, they were pulling away. Yeah. So I did that. I was dealing with some injuries with that. I ended up tearing a muscle in my leg that I had been dealing with since high school, and my body wasn't reacting to it very well. So I ended up stepping away from track and field, and at Arkansas, I ended up playing rugby. I found the school's rugby team, which was a lot of fun. I played some high school football as well too, so this was a nice mix of kind of the track and the football. And I really enjoyed it. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed the physicality of it. I enjoyed the training. We did a lot of training as a group.
Like strength training or just conditioning?
We did it was a lot of strength work. And honestly, what it looks like if you like ripped off CrossFit football right now, it almost exactly the same. We had sleds. We had and they weren't sleds. They were tires with straps on them that we threw sandbags in.
So just like garage kind
of. I mean, just clang and bang. Like we would do that stuff. Then we'd go over to the rec center and bench press and quarter squats, things like that. We really put ourselves in a bad spot. And then what happened at the end of that semester? That was into my spring semester. Everything was going great. We were having a practice for sevens, which is kind of like flag football when it comes to rugby.
Okay.
We were practicing sevens, and there was a loose ball, and myself and another guy went to go for a loose ball, and he ended up giving me a Charlie horse in my quad.
Yeah.
And so I sat the rest of the practice out. I woke up the next morning, and I couldn't move my leg. Thankfully, it was a Friday. I made it to class that morning, and then I drove back to Joplin, which is only about an hour and a half, 2 hours away.
Okay.
Got back to Joplin, met my folks for dinner, and I was like, I think I need to go to the hospital to get this checked out. Because all I could move was my foot. I could move it was my right leg, and my leg was straight, so I could get myself in the car so I could drive with my...
Luckily, you didn't have a automatic...
Yeah. It would have been quite the dance in there. But we get to the hospital, and I don't know, Matt Chan had this happen to him about a year ago, or a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Okay.
You saw that compartmentalization syndrome.
Yeah.
What had happened was I had ruptured part of an artery in my leg.
Whoa.
And it was bad enough that it's a nasty, nasty bruise. It's just with a larger vessel than let's say some of the small capillaries. So I got coded though. I mean, it's one of those, you get put in the front of the line at the emergency room, you're in some trouble.
Yeah.
And luckily the guy who helped me, he's still in Joplin, he's a friend of my folks actually, noticed it, played rugby, saw what was going on. They knocked me out, gave me an epidural. I woke up 24 hours later at my parents' house with my leg shaved, and because I guess they were prepping me for surgery to relieve that pressure in my quad. And so I luckily, for some reason or another, I didn't have to have the surgery. I had they said I had an inch of free space down near my knee. But then I spent the next 3 months on crutches because all of that blood that was in my leg had to work its way south. So it moved to my knee.
Was that just painful?
Oh man, I couldn't move my leg at first, and that actually wasn't too bad because I just couldn't move it. It was just so tight that the muscles couldn't move. But then that blood started to move down to my knee, and that's when it really started to hurt, is because my knee would try to flex because then I had the muscle capacity to move, but it was so inflamed with blood that it turned purple, and then it moved down to my calf. My calf turned black.
That was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, and it worked all the way down until it got to my foot. My foot turned almost by that point, it was kind of a light shade of purple. And so, I got to spend the rest of my Arkansas career that spring semester, about 2 months, on crutches with a handicap pass. But here's what: if you want to make friends at a university campus, get a handicap parking pass, because then you can pull right up next to the front of the buildings, and everybody loves you.
Everyone's piling.
I had that truck. I have my same truck I have now. And I got pulled over by a campus cop because I had 3 people in the bed of my truck, because it's a hill up from the dorms up to the campus there. And he asked me politely to not do that again. So.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's cool. So, I remember one of the things that I really liked is back when you first started teaching the Learn To class at CrossFit, I had a couple friends, several groups of friends, so I got to sit through your Learn To a couple times. And one of the things that you share with the new Learn To classes is your background, your history, how you got to a point where you're like trying every Flex magazine workout. You're just like, why am I not getting these abs? And were you still smoking at the time?
So I had moved after I got finished at Arkansas. I transferred up here to Springfield at Missouri State University, and I finished college up here. But during that time, I had picked up some recreational habits. I played rock and roll music in a band. So all of my athletic endeavors switched to playing guitar in a punk rock band, and so I had a lot of fun doing it, and I don't regret any of it. But about a year or so after finishing, I was in my graduate program. Myself and one of my friends as well, his name's Jacob, we were just kind of looking like, well, we're going to start, lifestyle started to mature a little bit.
Yeah, and Jacob is a CrossFit coach at East.
He's a coach at East. And so we started going to the Y, kind of the natural progression. We actually started, I think, at Ozark Fitness.
Okay.
And I mean, I got nothing bad to say about those places, but it's not directed, it's like there's treadmills and there's free weights, and so you kind of have to you have to have a plan
Yeah.
of some sort. So
and most people don't. They just get in like, I'm going to do this machine this time.
Absolutely.
And they have a clipboard that you might look at, and you're like,
the recommended exercises. Went to the Y, ripped out all of the men's fitness, 6 weeks, how to get coconut shoulders.
Yeah.
6 weeks later, I didn't have coconut shoulders, or I didn't have the
That didn't
six-pack
work?
abs, and it's just like, I wanted these results, but I had no idea how to get them.
Yeah.
Because I had tried, I had followed the directions. I mean, I'm a very analytical person. 2 + 2 = 4. If you put A and B together, you get C. And so I was like, cool. These magazines say if I do this, this, and this, I'm going to yield this.
Yeah.
And it just never happened. And I don't know what, and I'm sure they work for some people. Those magazines are business for one reason or another.
There's a few genetic.
Yeah,
those are cookie cutter programs.
Yeah. And I've come to find out that I am much more about effort than potential.
Yeah.
I'm not a genetic freak. I'm 5'6", extremely white, and not exactly large. My free testosterone is like 300, which is like this like a 50-year-old man. I got to test it at work. And so it's just like,
You grow an awesome beard, though.
Yeah, no, I don't. And I think that's part of the problem. It's like I grow this patchwork beard. I can grow a great mustache. I look like I'm 12. And so all these things, and that's what I was working my butt off. I started running. I enjoyed running. I ran some 5Ks and some 10Ks. I really enjoyed that. But I enjoyed weight training still, too. And I'd always enjoyed weight training from high school, high school
Rugby,
sports. Yeah, and from rugby. It's always something I'd always enjoyed. I'd let it go for a few years, during college, pursuing some other endeavors by all means. But then I kind of, CrossFit was kind of coming on the scene. I had heard about it. I'd had some friends who try it, who started to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sold just yet. Because, again, I'd had just enough experience to be...
This is a fad. I don't know.
I'd just enough experience to be dangerous.
Yeah.
And so finally I tried one out. CrossFit Springfield East opened up about, almost 4 years now.
Yeah.
And so I think I was their first member.
With Mel.
Mel Forellis and his wife. And Jacob, I think, was member number 2 or 3 as well, too. And so we went over there and we found this. And from the get-go, it's like, this is it. It had this perfect mix of weight training as well as kind of that mental challenge.
Right.
That
competitiveness.
Yeah. Honestly, the competitiveness at first wasn't what attracted me by any means. And I'm still not sold that the competitiveness in CrossFit is the greatest hallmark. Okay. But the mental game, that self-talk, if that, whenever you look in the mirror and everything in your body is screaming red alert, and every siren's going off that you can sense, but you can keep going.
Yeah.
That was like that was the hook. That was the addiction part of it. And I was like, man, I'm capable of more than what I think I can. Whether that's a handstand push-up, whether that's 185-pound power clean, whatever it is.
Now, when you started CrossFit, did you approach it as, okay, I'm here to learn, or did you I'm here to think great? What was because I know a lot of people they just come in. When we see people like that, they come in the gym and they're like, I'm gonna crush this. This is nothing, and then they get humbled real quick. Yeah,
at that point too, I don't even know if the CrossFit Games had been on television yet. Okay. And so the only really experience I'd have with CrossFit was a couple friends who locally talked about it, and then watching some YouTube videos. Yeah. I was like, okay, cool. I was like,
I'll do Fight Gone Bad.
Or seeing these guys. I'd power cleaned in high school. I'd done some. I'd snatched a little bit in college.
But your technique was awesome.
Oh, it was tough. It was beyond bad. The starfish cleans. Yeah. That's all I knew. My high school strength coaches didn't know what clean was,
and most of them don't even now.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And that's kind of the stigma of the high schools that we are of training now. It's like, how many public schools have a trained strength conditioning coach?
Yeah.
Almost none.
Yeah,
and that's fine.
Texas.
Yeah, unless you're in Texas or at a private school, maybe. My partner with Power and Grace, that's his job, and he's the strength and conditioning coordinator for Christian school in Georgia.
Wow.
And that's amazing. Those kids don't even have any idea what kind of experience and mindset they're getting, but these guys are doing the best with what they've got, and it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But and even from high school, honestly, I loved playing football. I enjoyed running track, but I enjoyed running races, but I loved the grind. Yeah. I loved summer weights. I loved getting up at 6 a.m. with my buddies, putting on some Red Hot Chili Peppers and going hard.
Yeah.
And whether that's trying to do a max clean or whether that's trying to do plyometrics. Yeah. I just ate it up, and I just loved it.
Yeah.
And I never, and after high school, there was nothing out there.
Yeah.
There was some P90X stuff, but it's like, I don't want to do this like in my
In
living
my
room.
living room with the video with the guy the same video every
Yeah, and so I mean that just never appealed to me. But then I found CrossFit, and it was the closest thing that had that feeling, you know. And especially, I mean, and granted, I mean, I had a couple buddies who I started with, and with Jacob at the same time, and man, it was that, and, you know, and thank the good Lord that Mel Forellis was my first coach. I mean, that guy, and he's still the owner over at CrossFit Springfield East, and their head coach. He does, and he does all their programming and everything too. But man, that guy, I mean, the patience he had to have with me alone. But he is such a tactician when it comes to how to approach people about how to help them.
Right.
I mean, his heart's bigger than any muscle in his body by all means. But that rivals only second to what he has taught himself and what he's learned. I mean, the guys. I mean, when it comes to kettlebell training, when it comes to some of his kickboxing stuff, I mean, the depth of his knowledge is vast.
Yeah, he's been around the block and he knows it.
Yes, he has.
He was he put me through my first workout ever.
Yeah.
I dropped in on a Saturday and it was like, hey, check out CrossFit.
Sure.
This is, you know, and really the workout was a warm up that we do.
Now,
and it was maybe like 3 rounds with some kettlebell swings, some air squats, and some jumping jacks or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he made me stop in the middle of the workout because, I mean, I was 348 pounds at the time. But it was cool just to see, like, and the workout was 6-7 minutes long.
Sure.
And something that
now
but then it crushed me. And that's one cool thing that we do workouts at CrossFit that are potentially you can do it in 2-3 minutes.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And you're on the floor like you ran a sprint at a 5K.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, and when it comes to CrossFit and that stuff, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of it is because, I mean, there's CrossFit in the sense of the modalities of it all mashed together is a new thing. But the idea of lactic training, of, you know, phosphoric training, of aerobic training, those aren't new ideas. Yeah. You know, I mean, the idea of like a 2-minute workout, the reason why it's so debilitating is because it falls in that gray area between 2 energy systems. Right. You know, so it's not long enough to be lactic. It's not short enough to be a 1 rep max, so you get to use just, you know, a phosphagen pathway. So what happens is that you end up you get the best of 2.
Right.
And those are the ones that are the most debilitating. And the same idea whenever you start moving into that 12 to 14 minute range, when you start moving from an aerobic workout into a lactic workout, whenever you start to play with those middle grounds, and that's where I think honestly CrossFit has hit the nail on such a head, is because it specialized in that area. Right. I mean, sure, by all means, do we do 1 rep max lifts? Sure. Do we do lactic acid training only? Sure. Do we do, you know, a 5K, an aerobic workout?
Right.
Those are there, but no one had specifically done these mixed modalities of, you know, of these pain caves that you can just, I mean, that you are only, I mean, you're on the edge of physical collapse and mental collapse.
Right.
And you put those two things together, and I mean, there's a group of people who love that.
Yeah.
You know?
They go there daily.
Yeah. I mean, and they pay to get their butts kicked.
Yeah.
Left and right. But it's coming back to like what Mel did. I mean, what Mel did in that sense, and that's the hallmark of a great coach, is that he gave you what you needed, not what you wanted. Right. I mean, and probably in your mind, you want to finish the workout. Right. You know, everything in your body. And it's at the same time, as a coach, you have to balance that. Like, I want you to satisfy that desire. Right. But I'm not going to let you satisfy that desire at the sake of your safety. Yeah. You know, and that's the number one job of the coach, is to keep people safe. I mean, by all means, am I here to instruct you, to motivate you? Sure. I mean, we've all heard of the cheerleader coaches. You know, but the number one,
you're going to push when it's time to push and pull back when
absolutely, and you get to a point as a coach too. It's like whether that's seeing the way they breathe, whether you get to know somebody. Like, I know you well enough now that like, the look on your face the look on the face and the way that you're breathing and moving, I can tell if you're slacking. Yeah. I can tell if you're dying. Yeah. I can tell if you're right where you need to be. Yeah. And that's what I tell people. It's like, I want to find that 75 to 85% effort range that you can maintain. Right. You know, if you're coming out mile a minute, you know, 100%, it's not sustainable. Yeah. If you come out at 20%, you're not getting the workout that you need or that you want, you know. And so it's like, and that's really what I mean when it comes to being a coach. You have to care about people first, right? And in the sense that has to translate over into safety, but then you have to be able to invest that to be able to say, okay, I know when I see the look on her face, this means that she needs to reel it in, right? You know. And then because it's usually, I mean, as well comes with that is that the form breaks. you know?
And that's when you can start being
injured.
injured.
Absolutely. And then again, like, I mean, whether that's as a caring person, you don't want that, and B, as a gym owner, it's like, well, if you get hurt, you're probably not going to want to come back.
Yeah. So it's that balance of you care for the people, you caring about your business.
Yeah. And we say that in CrossFit, like, you know, we say safety is efficiency.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when it comes to a business, you know. I mean, caring about people is making money.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not. I mean, I don't want people to feel like that's, you know, a fake thing.
Right.
You know, it's the care for the person by all means. It just so happens to be that the side effect of that is a successful business.
Right.
You know, because those things lead to each other. You know, and if you care about people first and foremost, I'm a pretty firm believer. If you care about people and you're kind, most everything else will take care of itself.
And I've seen that at CrossFit Republic.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's going to be turnover anywhere, and people move, and life happens.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
There's a good core group of people that I've seen them there since the doors open.
Yeah. I'm proud of that. I really am. I mean, and it's one of those things, and I'm kind of a firm believer. I've kind of made some observations. It's like, if people can stick out the first 3 months, and that's kind of like, you know, whether that's the contract situation or whatever, if people can make it for the first 3 months without overdoing it and taking it steady, you know, and giving themselves the times to grow, if they can handle that first 3 months, usually they stay for a very long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, outside of the, you know, the life happens spectrum.
Yeah.
But, you know, and it's wonderful to see, because then, you know, you come back, like, and that's what I do all kinds of silly stuff. I like to whenever I'm not coaching, some of my favorite times to be at the gym is whenever I'm not coaching, because I'll sit in the back and I'll think about what did Kayla Stocker's squats look like when she first walked in that door?
Yeah.
What do they look like? What are they today?
Yeah.
Are they perfect? No. Are they light years ahead of where we were?
Yeah.
You know, and she put her head down. She took it slow. We didn't try to reinvent the wheel on day one.
Right.
And now she's a wonderful athlete, you know, who's more fit and happy and healthy than she's ever been.
Yeah,
so.
I've seen her get after some workout. I mean, she's cranking out double unders now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just cool.
Chest to bar pull-ups,
yes.
you know.
And her husband, Chris, too. I mean, just both of them are just powerhouses. And it's just cool to see that. Like, I remember people with mobility issues that couldn't overhead squat. And they're overhead squatting now. And it's just cool to see that. And I'm not the coach. I'm just grinding out the workouts with them.
And that's the beauty of CrossFit, in the sense of, as a community, is that, sure, you're not the coach, but we all are on this together. Yeah. I mean, granted, workout advice and tips is kind of like playing pool, right? You know, you don't want to give them unless they're asked for, right? Unless you're, you know, being the paid coach. At the same time, it depends on where they're coming from, right? If you're trying to say it because, say, hey, I can do this and you can't,
look at the knowledge.
Hold your mouth. Yeah. If you're saying, hey, I don't want you. I care about you. Yeah. If you're coming from a place of kindness, if you're coming from a place of caring about the person for just being the person, right? And I think that's what I think the greatest asset of our gym is that fact, because we have a group of people who are just good people. Yeah. I mean, at bar none. I don't care about your performance per se. Right. I hope you're performing to your greatest capabilities. I don't care about the majoring against anybody else. And that's the good and bad in CrossFit. Yeah. You know, I mean, I think that's a great motivator in the sense of how to push yourself. Right. But they're your workouts. You know, I mean, at the same time, you can't let the competition eat you up. And I'm afraid sometimes that's going to be the slippery slope of CrossFit.
I mean, I've fallen into that trap myself, where I'll see someone's numbers on the board and I'll be like, oh,
we all have.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, there's not a person in this world who hasn't looked at somebody's performance when they beat your time, or when you know somebody who you are, you know, comparable with, that just they have a great workout. Yeah. They have a workout that's just in their wheelhouse. They knock it out of the park. Right. And, you know, deep down inside, you're like, damn it. Like,
there's no way that.
Yeah. You know, and it's just like, I mean, and so at the same time, it's okay to have that feeling. Yeah. And that's like, I used to get mad at myself, like, don't feel that way. Right. But then I'm like, you know what? Like, that's motivation. And so, but at the same time, it's like, we have to remember that CrossFit was invented not as competition against other people. Right. CrossFit was invented, and it's still, the beauty of it is for GPP, general physical preparedness. Like, how do we help a grandma be able to play with their kids a little bit longer? Right. How do we help a 35-year-old divorced mom to feel a little bit better about herself.
Right.
You know, I mean, and whoever it is,
Yeah.
you know, how do we
Just being better.
Yeah, how do we empower somebody to have this ownership? I mean, it's one of those things, almost like education, like physical preparation and physical capabilities are something you can't take away from somebody.
Right.
I mean, you can take away their car, you can take away their house, you can take away their money, but you can't take away the things they've learned. You
Right.
can't take away what you're capable of physically.
Right.
You know, I mean, unless there's some violations of law.
Right, yeah.
You know? And that's a huge, wonderful, powerful thing. And I want the focus to be, I want that pureness to stay.
Right.
I don't want the competition side of it can get stinky.
Yeah.
You know, it can get sloppy by all means. Thundering Herd's coming.
Yeah, the dogs are running around. Well, hey, let's talk about how you transitioned from trying out CrossFit,
Sure.
CrossFit athlete at CrossFit Springfield East, to gym owner coach. Like, take me through that process.
Sure. So at East, you know, about a year or so, you know, we were progressing along. My wife ended up joining as well too, and we really enjoyed it. You know, and at the same time, myself and Jacob, my friend, we kind of started seeing that, you know, when it comes to some of these higher level skills, cleans, snatches, gymnastics motions, sometimes you need a little bit more than just the 60 minutes allotted, you
Right.
know. And so what happened was that we ended up spending a lot of our free time, hobby time, in the gym, you know, trying to recreate the videos we saw on the internet.
Right, yeah, YouTube.
Pretty
Yeah.
poorly, you know. Mel was there by all means to give us as much guidance as possible, but whenever he's coaching a class,
Yeah.
there's these two idiots over in the corner, you know.
Clanging and banging.
Oh, man. Like, Jacob found some videos of us. He sent them to me. I'll show you one here at the end of this, of us snatching. This might have been like 6 or 7 months into CrossFit, and of us trying to, you know, work on snatch form. And it's almost embarrassing. It's hilarious. It's really hilarious to see. I mean, we're both like maybe 140 pounds dripping wet too. I mean, coming from 5K training to that, and it's just like, okay, there we are. But so we started doing that. Started talking with Macy. Macy was a big bad stud athlete from CrossFit Springfield. Was dropping in over there a few times, and one thing led to another. We ended up talking, and we ended up training a little bit together. And so then I went to go get my level 1. Right after that, we started talking about opening a gym.
Right.
And that was never my intention. It really wasn't. It kind of just serendipity happened that
Fell in your lap.
Yeah, and so it was like, you know, Dee and I sat down, my wife and I sat down and talked about, well, here's an opportunity. Republic at the time didn't have any CrossFit gyms at all. We're still the only show in town. It's a big town, and we saw an opportunity there. And I'd always been looking for a side gig. As a college professor, I got a lot of free time. You know, I've enjoyed the last, you know, 3 or 4 weeks off. In the summer times, I have months off at a time, as well as every major holiday. And I'd always been kind of looking for, I call it the side gig, you know. What's something that I can invest my time in that's productive, A, profitable, B.
And a passion.
Yeah, and something I can express some passion in as well, too. You know, I'd looked into woodworking. You know, I'd talked to friends about this, like, you got any good ideas? You know, like, they never were my ideas.
Yeah, I need something to do.
Yeah, and I was like, because I've got some extra time, but I was passionate about this. I was passionate about and the biggest thing with CrossFit, I was passionate about the pursuit of knowledge.
Sure.
You know, and I was passionate about the pursuit of self-improvement, you know, whether that was knowledge, whether that was performance, you know. So it was like, and I loved it, and I still do. I mean, there's not a day that goes by I don't read something.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm not researching something, or I'm programming, I'm trying to make myself a better coach, a better athlete, a better something, you know. And so that turned into CrossFit Republic. We opened 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. I think April.
Yeah,
or May.
Late April, early May.
Yeah.
And we ended up having 30 or 40 people sign up on that first day. You know, and when it first started out, it was Dina and myself and Macy and Jen, and
you guys were coaching all of them.
Coached every class. Yeah.
It was a real big.
There were
class.
weeks that. Those first few months, I mean, I was out there coaching every PM class for weeks at a time, you know, and at the time there was no other place I'd rather be. I loved it, you know, and there was that core group of people who were fresh to CrossFit. I was fresh to owning and coaching in a gym. And
I felt like a veteran because I had 6 weeks at East beforehand. I was like, fight combat guys, I've done this before. When everyone,
it was a really neat organic growth. It really was. You know, it wasn't like we tried to open this big bad gym out of nowhere.
Right.
You know, we started off small. We started off very, you know, with a lot of humility. You know, it's like, this is what we have to offer, and we want to help you. you know, and we just, you know, one person came in and we got 2 and then 3, then 4, and what was it, 8 months later we had to expand.
Yeah.
You know,
knock down a wall.
The walls were getting a little tight. By some serendipitous event, the place next door moved.
Yeah.
And so there was 2 empty stalls next door, and so we ended up getting that next place next door. And I mean, I can't imagine us being open in that old place.
Oh
now.
no, I mean, and you also knocked down like the kitchen that you had in there.
Yeah,
and
that's
right.
right.
I mean,
That's
you guys
right. I forgot about that.
It wasn't just the wall. I mean,
Yeah,
you guys took a lot of.
We tried to really make it as open as possible to give us as much free space as possible.
Double squat rack.
All the activities, you know.
Yeah, all the activities.
Yeah, we added a whole nother layer of squat racks and everything, man.
It's fun to have people that either had moved away and they're home for the holidays and they come back in and they haven't been in a few years and they're like, oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Like, it's cool to see that, like, you go, and we've used all that space.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think our gym size is just right for what we do.
Right.
And it's great, man. It really, and it's been fun to watch. It's been fun to watch the people mostly mature. It's been fun to see the group, the community as a whole, grow.
Yeah.
And seeing people take these next steps. People like you. Because you came in with 2 weeks of experience, and now 3.5 years later, I mean, you got your USAW level 1.
Yeah.
I mean, you've attached yourself onto a lot of the same concepts and.
Yeah.
To better yourself, to grow your knowledge, and to help as many people as you possibly can. And
I love that. That's one of my favorite things about being at the gym is seeing people come in, deer in the headlights look.
Oh, man, yeah.
And I beeline right towards them. Because I remember Jared.
You're the mayor.
Is it Jared or Katz? He was over at East. He was the first person that walked up to me and said, "Hi, how's it going? Do you want me to take you around?" I mean, just that left an impact on me because I was, holy crap, look at these ropes coming from the ceiling. What am I supposed to do with that metal thing sticking out of the ground? Like,
it's intimidating.
Yeah.
Especially, even for me, coming from an athletic background, I'd never seen like a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
I'd seen, the Globo gym setups. And even in Arkansas, while they had a setup, it was full. There was more machines than there were people, even there, and then when you walk in a CrossFit gym and there's no machines, there's
a few rowers in the corner.
Yeah, there's some kettlebells laying over there. There's some barbells in a rack, and there's a pull-up rig, and then there's a 100 by 50 square foot open space to just
black pads.
Yeah, to figure it out.
Yeah,
to figure it out.
And rolling pins and
all kinds of all the other fun stuff that goes along with it.
But how with your anatomy and physiology background, like what you went to school for, how have you had that apply to your coaching and knowledge and research now?
Well, when it comes to research, the levels of research that are out there when it comes to physical fitness and performance, it's CrossFit, in the sense of the mashup it is new. Mm-hmm. The ideas of sports science, of research are not. Yeah. It's really, it's really just repackaging a lot of the things. When people comes to Olympic weightlifting, the ideas of CrossFit, the Russian studies that they have out from the 80s, 70s and 80s that had these, conceptualized, these amazing athletes who were studied from the age of 8 to 40. Yeah. And everything about their intake and performance was measured, this, that, and the other. It's out there and it's still there. Right. And it's still being done. Like you think about how it's going in China and all this other stuff. The idea of how that all kind of circumvents, comes back around, is that we're not reinventing the wheel. Right. What we're doing is we're reinventing the method of delivery.
Repackaging.
Yeah, exactly. We're creating we're giving a program, we're giving them a place, and we're giving them attention that the fitness industry wasn't giving them before. And that's what I think that they realized. And I think before a lot of the Globo gyms and all the other stuff realized, before they could get their focus on it, is that they're losing members at a very, very fast rate. Yeah. But they couldn't give people what they wanted, because they weren't. They make their money on the thousands of memberships that don't show up.
Yeah, they count on that rush at the beginning of the year. They have to sign a whole year contract, and then they just I paid for it, whatever, and then they don't come in.
Yeah, and so they have 4 people working in a place that's got 100 people in it at once, or 50 people in it at once. That was never. And so they've lost that personal touch, and I think that's what CrossFit Republic, that's what CrossFit in general, thrives on is community. It thrives, and not even in community is a side effect of it.
Right.
That personal attentiveness, that
that
care for the person, that care for the whole,
right.
That has to be there.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I mean, that idea of coming from teaching, to be a successful teacher, you have to have the same perspective, and that's, I mean, I don't separate CrossFit and teaching at Missouri State. They're the same thing.
Yeah.
They really are. They're just different subjects. And, you know, they're just slightly, and honestly, not even that different subjects, you know. One of them is an experiment inside of a test tube. One of them is an experiment inside of your body.
Yeah.
It's testable, it's observable, it's repeatable. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. I love when you're explaining certain things and people are like, put your shoulders together. When you explain, like, I need you to move your scapulas, and you start talking about like the actual names of the muscle, and everyone's just like, okay, Joe.
Okay, there it is. Yeah. And I have to reel myself in sometimes because I get excited about it, you know, and I'm easily excitable in the first place. But especially when people start asking the right questions,
right.
I guess. I mean, I don't want to say there's wrong questions, but when people ask why, like that's like my eyes light up.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll tell you why. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's get it.
Instead of like when people say like versus how, or like I want to look like this, or I want to do that.
How can I get that six pack, Joe?
Yeah, like whenever like I don't care about that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care about your physique per se. If that's what you want, great.
Yeah.
What I care about is the way you move.
Yeah.
You know, and if I can help somebody understand why they need to move a certain way and how they eat can help them get a six pack, great, fine.
Yeah.
But that is
like
when
someone comes up like, you have us do hollow rocks.
And that's what that same idea is like. Someone's like, I want to do butterfly pull-ups.
Yeah.
And I'm like, time out. You know, and it's like, how many strict pull-ups can you do? Do you know what a kip is? Let's see your kip. And if those things, the biggest way, if people are interested in talking about that in the first place, then I'm not interested in talking to you about that.
They just want the end result.
Yeah.
And it's a process.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes work. And the patience that it requires is massive.
I think my wife's a good example of that. Is because she's one of those that never cheats herself in a workout, which is awesome. But she puts the time in. She comes up and practices her kip, but you see, there's several people like that at the gym, and then all of a sudden they're doing chest to bar and bar muscle ups and.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is like there's that tipping point, you know, when it comes to, you know, they call it like whether it's a latent period in the sense of the science, like there's always a time where like things underneath the surface, nothing's happening.
Right. In
reality, there's a massive amount of stuff happening. Sure, you might not be able to see it yet, but then whenever it tips and whenever that pot goes. I mean, it's just, like your wife went from doing, you know, some, you know, funky looking kipping pull-ups, took a month or two to learn how to kip, and all of a sudden she can go from no pull-ups to bar muscle ups.
Yeah.
Because she put in the work and she was patient and she, you know, busted her butt.
Yeah.
You know?
Spent the extra time working on things.
And that's what I think a lot of people and that, again, that comes back to the idea of the competition idea of CrossFit. Like, in reality, butterfly pull-ups have no place in physical fitness outside of competition. Yeah. Because all you're trying to do is you're trying to do as many reps as possible.
Yeah.
Strict pull-ups are better for strength development. If you're looking for the true training of a gymnastics motion, the kip is where it's at. Mm-hmm. The butterfly pull-up, all it's doing is allowing you to recycle faster so you can do more reps per minute. Does that mean you're not working? If someone who's doing butterfly versus regular kipping pull-ups, the aerobic, you know, demands are the same.
Right.
In reality, they're just getting more reps, which is something that you and I quantify as counting inside of a time frame.
If I want to do.
Are they both those people working at 80%? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things like you have to take it. You have to. It's your workout, you know, and that's again you have to be patient and you have to be. Again, whenever people ask me butterfly pull-ups, like, okay, have you worked on your kipping? They say no. I ask them if they want to work on kipping. They say no. I say, there's not much I can do for you.
Yeah, you have to babysit milk before meat. Kind of
absolutely.
Yeah.
And when it's just you got to crawl before you can walk.
Yeah.
I mean, kipping is the foundation of all gymnastics motions.
Yeah.
You know, and it's boring. It's not fun. It doesn't have the finish of a pull-up even. You know?
It hurts my hands.
It hurts your hands. Like, it stinks. Like, it's not sexy. Like, it's not flashy. It's not. If someone sees you working on kipping, they're not like, man, that's awesome.
What is that person
doing?
doing?
Yeah, like that guy's flopping around on the bar.
With his feet pointed.
Yeah, and it's just like, and so, I mean, you've got to be able to be willing to put in the work to get the results.
Yeah. Explain Power and Grace and how you got involved with them, because that's a program you've been involved with over a year now. And really, I've seen you go from I'm a customer.
Yeah, sure.
To a coach and a programmer.
Yeah. So Power and Grace Performance is an online in person programming and coaching site. We do Olympic weightlifting, we do CrossFit style competition programming, and then we do also gymnastics programming. I'm the head movement / gymnastics coach for Power and Grace Performance. It started with the pursuit of knowledge. I wanted to get better at Olympic weightlifting. I've never been terribly strong. And I found this super skinny dude on the internet who was a coach and an Olympic weightlifter named Spencer Arnold. And he's a skinny little dude.
He's moving incredible
he was
weight.
moving, snatching and clean and jerking these huge weights. And I was like, awesome. This guy's going to know how to coach me because he's little. Like he's not this.
I've met him. Yeah. He doesn't. You walk up to him, you wouldn't be like, this guy
like
can
a regular
put,
dude. Yeah. He doesn't have massive shoulders. He's not this.
He didn't follow those flex magazines.
Yeah, he obviously did not. And so I found him out, and I got to the point I started following his programming, and then I wanted a more personal touch. I was like, I want someone to give me direct feedback, and so I initially started as a client of his for Olympic weightlifting, and then from there, kind of one thing led to another, and we became friends.
Didn't you host like a workshop at the gym?
Yeah, CrossFit Republic hosted a Power and Grace training camp with Spencer, Mike Papa, and Emily Carruthers, who had just came off of a top 15 finish at the games.
Yeah.
And there was only like 10 people there. Yeah. And I was kind of bummed about it. At the same time, I was pretty pumped about it because there was like...
I wanted to do it so bad. I remember coming in and just poking my head in. Like, hi, everybody who's awesome.
Yeah. And so one thing led to another. There was a need for a movement coach, and I'd always, and kind of in the same way as Olympic weightlifting, I'd always enjoyed the gymnastics portions of CrossFit. I'd done some male adult gymnastics at Arkansas because they were just starting a gymnastics team, and I'd really enjoyed that. I was good at that. Was the stuff I was naturally good at in CrossFit, just because my strength weight ratio was high because I'm small.
Right.
And I really enjoyed the technique portion. I enjoyed I enjoyed the crappy portions of it, the not fun portions.
People that don't want to, they just want to lift heavy weight. They don't want to.
And so I really enjoyed that. I showed Spencer. I wrote up a program, kind of a front lever focused gymnastics program. I showed it to him, and he's like, "This is great,
awesome."
And we put a couple athletes on it, and they really improved their core strength. And right before they had to go to regionals. And so one thing led to another, and I ended up taking over all of the gymnastics and movement work for Power and Grace.
You were doing like mobility stuff, and then then you started taking on
a lot more. I kind of started as like mobility and flexibility and position work, using some of my anatomy and physiology background, in just kind of feeding, trying to help the program and help the team out as best as possible. And one thing led to another, and about this time last year is whenever I took over everything on the other half, in the sense of the motion. And now Spencer and I kind of work hand in hand on everything CrossFit and everything weightlifting. I mean, I'd say I guess I'm kind of the assistant coach for the assist for weightlifting and for everything.
Well, you guys go to events, you go to the regionals and coach people through, and you recently went to the American Open.
Yeah, that was an experience.
And you didn't sleep for 3 days.
I had a flight at 5 in the morning out of Springfield to get to Reno at like 2. So of course I had to be up at 3:30 in the morning our time. Got to Reno, I had about an hour to chill, and then it was time to coach.
Yeah.
Our first athlete was Christmas Abbott. And so, she's a Instagram superstar. Honestly, my first job when we got there was to be like a deflector. Yeah. Because people want autographs, pictures, all kinds of stuff. And
she's there to lift.
Yeah, and she's there to perform at the American Open.
Yeah.
And so kind of my first job then was to do that. But then I ended up being, helping with counting for her lifts and being, getting her prepped up for ready to lift. And she did really well. She had a great snatch session.
Yeah.
Clean and jerk session didn't go great, but
she bombed out on it.
Yeah, she bombed out on clean and jerk. But I think there's definitely some things that we can work on to go from there. But the rest of the weekend then went crazy. We had Sarah Beth Phillips, who got second overall in her weight class.
That's awesome.
And she was about I think 2 kilos away from an attempt at a clean and jerk American record.
Wow.
And she pressed it out. She CrossFitted it. I mean, she cleaned it and she put it over her head, but she caught it about halfway up and then pressed it all the way out. And for 2 kilos away from the American record.
Heartbreaking.
And we'll just seeing the capacity. If she can press that out, she can break an American record. And I think she could break the American record in the snatch and the total as well too. Because there's another girl right now, she's going head to head with named Jess Lucero, who's on fire right now.
Yeah.
She was at Worlds and everything. And that was an amazing experience. So seeing that.
How many athletes did you coach that weekend?
Oh my gosh. I think we had 9. We had one man, Spencer, and then we had our whole girls team was there. And so we ended up not even submitting the team, but if we would have put the team in, we would have gotten, I think, 3rd
That's
overall
awesome.
as a team. So we've got some high hopes for nationals. Nationals are coming up in, I think, first weekend of May.
Okay.
And so hopefully we'll have a even better showing. But all of our girls PR'd, I think, something.
That's cool.
So it was great.
So if people want to find out more about Power and Grace, do they just powerandgraceperformance.com?
Yeah, powerandgraceperformance.com. And on the side of there, we've got 3 different tabs. 4 different tabs. We've got the weightlifting specific programming, competition, which is the CrossFit, and then the gymnastics specific stuff.
Yeah.
That's movement only.
Sure.
And then there's some remote coaching options and stuff like that on there as well too. So
well, James, we had him on the podcast too, and he does some of that stuff too. So
yeah, James does all the endurance work too.
All the endurance work.
Yeah.
So you've had in the space of 3 or 4 years went from
nothing.
And you've grown so much. It's just cool to see as a fan and as a friend seeing you grow in stuff that you're passionate about too, and putting together our barbell class, and that's coming up on
almost a year
now. Yeah,
I think it was April or May last year.
Okay,
I have to go back and look because I think we started the Facebook group from the get go.
Yeah,
and I mean that's where my passion. My passion lies in helping people directly, and barbell is a lot of fun for me because I get. The people who come to barbell are making the conscious choice to get better at something.
Yeah.
Not that CrossFit doesn't do that, but a lot of people come to CrossFit for a workout. They want to sweat, they want to run, they want to get in and get out in 60 minutes, and that's fine, and that's great. I've got no reservations.
We love them just as much as the people that stay there for.
But the times whenever I'm just going off on my spiels of clean and jerking or snatching before class, they're probably rolling their eyes. They're like, I just want to get my workout in, and that's fine, and I totally get it. But the people who come to barbell class are the people who've been like, you know what, I want to get better at something, and whenever people do that, my eyes light up.
Yeah, I would always power snatch before I took barbell, and you had me try to squat snatch once, and it was like 95, and I couldn't even do it. Not even come close. I fell on my butt every time, and now I'm getting close.
What'd you max last time?
175.
175. Yeah, I think every time we finish one of our little mesocycles, I think you've PR'd every single time on something.
And it's just been fun, and a lot of it's I enjoy doing the class beforehand, an hour beforehand, because then I go into it with a little bit of fatigue.
Sure.
And it's probably not. I don't know if that's the smartest thing to do, but
it depends on. I think
when I try to max effort, I don't.
Sure. When I think, in a sense, as you as an athlete, is you're trying to become a better weightlifter, but you're also trying to become a better exerciser.
Right.
And so I think for your goals, I think that's fine because you want to be able to perform those lifts under fatigue in a more efficiently and more technically sound in the workouts, and that's totally cool.
One thing that I was proud of in the workout yesterday, we had to do a bunch of snatches, power snatches, and Mandy in the talking about in the warm up and talking about the workout, she's like, guys, this is a lot of snatch work. Make sure your form doesn't fall apart. Sure. She's like, mine kind of did just because you started fatiguing. And in my mind, I was like, I am going to stay perfect on every snatch. Just because it became like a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before, it was such a cool feeling. Every one of those snatches, I felt like I was hitting the pocket.
Yeah.
I was nailing it. And it just was like, before, I would starfish every single one, and they weren't squat snatches. Yeah, and just if I caught it, and my shoulder might have been hurt. It would for the first year of my CrossFit, it was hurting yourself was pulling your Crosby. Yeah. Did you Chris your because I would always be like, hey Joe, I hurt myself again.
Yeah.
So, but it's
and that's what, and I think a big people forget is, we harp on technicality, but it's also there for safety.
Right.
The whole idea here is so that we can keep you. Lean, mean fight machine for as long as possible. Because if you're laid up with a bum shoulder or a bum knee or a bum hip or whatever it is, A, you can't work out, you know,
Yeah.
and B, it's a cycle, you know, and it's one of those things where you have to learn how to fail too,
Yes.
you know, and it's like you have to be able, and at the same time, you have to be able to suck up your pride. Be like, listen, I'm going to take a half a step back to stay steady. You know, my glass ceiling is here right now. How can I break through that? The only way you're going to break through that is by taking a half a step back, taking 2 steps back, focusing on some of the basics, and then coming back through bigger and better.
I mean, it took me 2.5 years to do a pull-up.
Yeah.
But, you know, now I'm doing them.
Yeah, and now there's a workout with pull-ups now is something you probably actually look forward to.
Yeah.
I mean, before it probably was something that you
I just like, well, I'm just
put your head in the
jump
sand.
and-
Yeah, you know, and it's just like, well, there's another crappy workout
Yeah.
or something that you don't enjoy. But now that you've taken the time, you learned how to do it yourself, and you know, you worked hard, and now it's something that you enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, as an athlete, that was my favorite thing was the stuff I suck at is the stuff that I sucked at before is the stuff that I enjoy even more now.
That's cool.
And honestly, there's 2 reasons why as an athlete is because usually if I sucked at it, somebody else sucked at it too, and now I know how to do it. So it's like, oh, cool, I got less goats than you.
Yeah.
Now, in the better thing now, it's just like, you know what? I put my nose to the grindstone, and again, no one can take that away from me. That I busted my butt to learn how to do this.
Yeah.
Handstand walks were something I could not do.
Yeah.
I just could not figure it out. As a movement coach, now it's like, well,
All right, let's do 50 meters.
yeah, now it's like, I mean, I went back, I learned, I spent hours on the wall. I mean, leaning up against the wall.
Yeah, I remember. It would be like we'd be in the workout and Joe had just had his nose on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, what is Joe doing over there?
Yeah, I mean, building strength, building comfort. I've really bad balance.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I've never had very good balance.
I hate being upside down.
Yeah, and I hate it too. I mean, like I remember in high school trying to do flips off the diving board. I couldn't hardly do it because I couldn't flip around because I hated being upside down.
Yeah.
Usually belly flopped it, you know, and it looked great.
Yeah.
But even then, I got to CrossFit and I was like, I hate kicking upside down. I was so afraid of falling down. But in reality, I was training so hard to not fall, I wasn't allowing myself to succeed.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Like when you're so afraid to do something, you're preventing. Yeah, I like that.
And I mean, and that's that comes across to anything. I mean, that comes to a lot of, forks in the road of life. It's like, well, I could take the high road, I could try, and I can fail miserably.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah.
Or I could take the easy road and I'll be very comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's what and again, that's what I love about CrossFit. That's what I love about physical performance. What I love about school. That's what I love about, with other people who find.
You said
those
you
passions.
like the grind. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't enjoy the grind. They're more about, all right, let's get through. I'm gonna.
I enjoy the Tuesday in the middle of the week whenever it's like whenever I have to squat and do deadlifts for reps.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why. That's what I did today. And it's like when I'm doing it, I'm complaining and pissing and moaning. Yeah, but I enjoy that. I mean, and competing's great, and whatever. But when I look back on it, I enjoy those nameless, dateless days.
Yeah, just in there putting your nose in the grindstone.
Putting some music on, goofing off with your friends.
Chili Peps.
Yeah, listen to Chili Peppers and just making it happen. And that's what I stepped away from competitive CrossFit for that very reason.
Yeah.
It's just like I enjoyed it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But I kind of hit a high note, and I was just like, I've kind of done everything I want to do. I don't think I can make it to that next level because I'm too old and too little. And it's like, you know what? I don't enjoy myself feeling like I've let myself down because I haven't. I've kicked butt. I mean, last year I had 2 finishes, and I had a top 50 finish in the Open. I had 2 other top 100 finishes in the Open. Any other year, I probably would have been knocking on the door to go to regionals. But they cut the number down, as well as that there was a max clean and jerk that I only hit 265 on. So
those other freaks.
Oh my gosh, I was like, I think I'm in the region. I was like 800th or something. I was just like, and I had a good lift. I was like, at the end of the workout.
Yeah, 265.
Yeah,
right after all that.
Yeah, I was like, and I was happy as a clam that I hit it. And then I was like, oh man, everyone else is hitting like 300. And I was like, there's just no, like, and
I hit
just
205, and I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of was like, and that's like kind of with the Open. I was just like, why am I comparing myself to these other people? Yeah. Why am I worried about it? Like, this is taking away my fun, my joy of it. And so it's like, you know what? I'm going to step away from that. And that's why I kind of moved into Olympic weightlifting, because it's a lot like track. I mean, sure, you're competing against other people, but it's like, I'm racing myself.
Yeah.
I'm lifting against myself.
You're trying to better your lift.
I'm never going to beat Alex Lee in weightlifting. The dude set, 3 American records.
Yeah.
But we're in the same weight class. We might be, I mean, we'll never be on the same platform, but hypothetically, you know what I mean? Like,
you might go up and change his weight.
Yeah, if I PR something that day, I'll be on cloud 9.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm chasing.
Now here's the question. do people get better at CrossFit by doing CrossFit?
For GPP, yes. For if your goal is to just become a fitter version of you, yes.
Yes.
If you're trying to become a competitive CrossFitter or competitive exerciser, if you're just doing main site or gym programming, my opinion is the answer is no.
No.
Just because, I mean, unless you come in to CrossFit being able to back squat 600 pounds and doing 30 muscle ups unbroken. If you can do that,
I mean, I can.
Yeah. You don't need me. You don't need anybody. You don't. Yeah. You need to go take the money in Carson and run.
Go show it for Rich.
If you are 90, if you're not Rich Froning, if you're not, if you're not these freak athletes, the only way you're going to get better competitively at CrossFit is to get stronger.
Yeah.
And to become more efficient at your motion. Those are not. They're not CrossFit per se, because CrossFit is constantly varied. Functional motion. And squat programs aren't varied.
Yeah.
It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You're going to do 50%, 60%, whatever. Yeah. That's not variance.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. We know, again, if we look back in the science of it, we know how to increase, human performance.
Yeah.
We just got to apply it, and that's what, with Power and Grace as a competitive program now with our athletes, it's like, does it have CrossFits of elements of CrossFit? By all means.
Yeah.
Is there workouts in there? Sure. That are CrossFit? Sure. But that's a portion of the program, The other portions are strength and conditioning and gymnastics, and there's a theme, there is a purpose, and if you don't have a purpose, you don't have direction.
Yeah.
So that's my long answer.
I like it. That's what we're here for. Okay, so I asked the social media, the good old social media, if they had any questions for you. And a lot of our friends are just being funny on there, so I'm going to let you look through it and answer the ones you want to. But I'm going to ask Seth's question first.
Seth Letterman?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great.
Good old Seth. Oh, hold on. I had it right here. Seth said, ask him if he's peanut butter and jelly of my good looks.
I might be a little bit. I'm probably a little peanut butter and jelly of his boat more than anything else.
Oh, my gosh. The Sandy?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll let you scroll through and pick out.
Okay. All right. So here's one with Raymond Delgado.
Oh, yeah.
Have you interviewed? That was your first one, right?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I'm glad he put us the question.
So Raymond says, how was it working with those awesome twins for that weight loss show? I had I think it was last Christmas. We got a phone call from the producers of Extreme Weight Loss. And the brothers are down in Monette, and Monette's like this. There's a YMCA there with no personal trainers.
Yeah.
And so they're either going to have to go to Joplin or they're going to have to come to Republic, because they did some CrossFit as part of their weight loss program.
Yeah, Chris Powell does a lot of
CrossFit
stuff.
He was on the cover of the box, I think.
Yeah.
And his wife.
Heidi.
Yeah. So, man, working with those two, that was honestly one of the greatest experiences of my coaching career.
That's cool.
And it wasn't because of the show. It wasn't because of. Their weight loss was great. By all means, the things that they accomplished were
amazing.
And I couldn't be happier for them. But I'll say the best part of that whole experience was getting to know those two guys.
Yeah.
Those two guys
Quality.
are, just two of the better people you'll ever meet in your life. And I probably wouldn't have ever met them without that opportunity.
Yeah.
Just because Monette, Springfield Republic. We might have ran across paths, but getting to know those guys, getting to hear their story, to help them become who they wanted to be.
Right.
That was again, that really changed me.
Right.
And it changed me as a coach, changed me as a person. It really did. Just because to see their persistence and their desire.
Robert came in sick several times. He's just like, I need to get my workout in.
Well, and again, you see someone who does that, you think you're feeling sorry for yourself because you're dragging a little bit someday, or because you've had a couple bad days. These guys have been. Those guys have done nothing except bust their butts to take care of their family, take care of themselves for their whole life.
Their whole lives.
Yeah, and to see them earn even more. Alone, the stuff they had done before had earned them everything that they should ever get.
Right.
But to see them even take that next step, whenever I watched that last show, whenever it actually came out, and because I hadn't seen them, I had seen them after the surgery.
Yeah,
but I hadn't seen them I hadn't seen them all done up.
Right.
Because I ended up doing a couple interviews with some local television stations with them, and I saw them, but they couldn't hardly move.
Yeah.
I mean, they could walk, but they couldn't exercise. They couldn't like go above like a trot because
Yeah.
they'd had the skin surgery.
That looks.
Which was, sounds crazy,
Yeah.
invasive.
Yeah.
I mean, just laying in a hospital bed for
looking at it.
for weeks,
Yeah.
or for days, and for almost.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like, seeing them take that final step was amazing, man. Like, and again, like that was
just see the work that they put in.
Yeah.
And it's just cool to see good people have good things happen to them.
Yeah, and I'm still grumpy at them though, because I was supposed to be flown to California for the reveal show, but
They said this. Yeah.
they had so many people. Because they double dipped. There's two of them,
Yeah.
and they had so many family members that needed to be out there with them. I totally
and
got
family's
it.
number one.
Yeah, by all means, man. But it was that was an amazing experience. What else we got here? Desiree says I'm the bomb, which is true. Brandon Edmonds asks about forming a CFR band. That could be interesting. I don't know all the musical talents across the gym, but Brandon and myself were in a punk rock band called Glass Bottom Boat Ride for a few years.
Glass Bottom Boat Ride.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And so, it's funny. My buddy Jacob and I, we're best friends, and we've been best friends for over 10 years now. But music's kind of what brought us together, and we were talking about that just the other day about how the people who were successful in that realm are the same people who are successful later in their next endeavors. You know, I mean, Jacob and I feel like we've both taken off as coaches and as athletes or whatever, however we want to package it. But that same desire is what drove us to be successful in that. I mean, Jacob's band played Warped Tour, toured the whole country. I mean, my band got to play across, regionally all over the place. And I mean, it was a blast, and I had a ton of fun, and way too much fun. But, the same idea was like, shows were great. I enjoyed practice. I enjoyed that same idea of, hanging with my buddies and getting better. As much as I enjoyed the payoff. Yeah.
That's cool. I like that because for me, even with my weight loss, I want to fast forward to the 5-minute montage and see the end result.
Sure.
But I've been more successful in my weight loss when I've enjoyed the process.
Yeah, you have to, and that's they're like, it's New Year's almost, and it's like there's all the commercials are out about how to get slim quick and yada yada yada. There's no magic pill.
No.
I mean,
hard work
there's more effective ways like CrossFit, and etc. But if you're not willing to bust your butt, nothing's gonna happen.
Right.
And that's kind of that's step one. It's the most important ingredient. But for any successful plan or for anything that you want in life, is that you have to be willing to do things that other people won't do.
Yeah.
When they don't want to do it, and when you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing to do that, then you can't really be that upset whenever your dreams don't come to fruition. And it's like, you would ask me 4 years ago if I'd be in this position, like, there's no way.
Yeah.
It's just, one stepping stone leads to the next. All I've done is tried to, help as many people as possible, gain as much knowledge as I possibly can, become the best athlete at the same time I possibly can, and then trying to pass that along, and that just the basics of it, and like that Alico shirt that I got at the American Open is like, what is it like? Challenge yourself. I think I'm gonna probably paraphrase it wrong, but it's like, challenge yourself, be kind, and do things that make you stronger. And it's like, you can't put it more simply than that. If that's your mantra, if that's your your motto, your creed, like if you apply, it's almost like kind of a golden rule situation. It's like, if you apply that to your personal life, where's that going to steer you wrong?
Right.
You're going to attack challenges head on. You're always going to try to take that harder road.
Yeah.
You're going to fail miserably.
Yeah.
But that kindness is going to be rewarded by other people. And you're going to be in the end run, you're going to be able to look yourself in the mirror saying, I've given everything I've had.
Well, any squat session that you fail on is better than the squash session.
Yeah, I get grumpy about when I fail squats.
Yeah. Yeah. It hurts so good.
Oh man. Oh, man.
Well, Joe, we've been over an hour. Usually they're an hour long, but we were talking about so much good stuff, and I'm glad that we did it. Is there, if anyone wants to follow you, where would they find you?
So on Instagram is probably the best place to find me, just because that's kind of the conduit for everything else. There's Power and Grace Performance. That has everything with our whole team on it. Again, with all of our weightlifters and our CrossFitters and people who follow us online, all the just people all across the country. But then also on Instagram, it's Joe_P_Williams, of course, as long as possible. And that's my personal site that I'll put videos of myself demonstrating movements and as well as some lifts and things like that too.
Sweet. Well, I'll post those up on the website, and I really appreciate you taking the time. I've been so excited about doing this because I've just known you for so long, and I know the wealth of knowledge that you have, and we'll have to do it again sometime down the road, and maybe get some more Power and Grace people on here too. I like it. Well, thanks for listening to the Unbroken podcast. Remember, if you liked what you heard, go ahead and like and subscribe, and that way we get more attention. And go ahead and leave a comment, and that'll help me out a lot. And remember to live unbroken.